Ford, you're among those who said Marco Rubio was the winner last night. You still stand by that assessment?
Well, I do, because I think that he was the most substantive both on domestic and foreign policy. And frankly, you know this, JD, a lot of it's perception. He looked the most presidential. I will say, though, I do think the Texas Senator Ted Cruz was definitely a close runner-up. And he hit a lot of brownie points by basically saying we need to enforce the rule of law on immigration, stop being demagogued by the Democrats. So both of them had a very good night in very different ways. The question for Cruz is, can he become the favorite for conservative insurgents, and can Rubio become the favorite for political insiders?
Well, it's interesting you make that kind of delineation. We may follow up on that in a minute. But in the meantime, Dick Morris appeared on our post-debate special last night. He had serious issues with Ben Carson. Let's listen to what Dick had to say and then get your reaction.
You look at this guy, and there's no way that he's a presidential candidate. There isn't the power there. There isn't the strength there. When he talks about national defense, it's like he's painting by numbers. He obviously doesn't know what he's talking about the economy or about national defense. And why should he? It's not his field.
Yeah, well, he's not a political insider, that's for sure. He's a smart guy. In many ways, he's the anti-politician, certainly the anti-Obama. Given that background, is that the reason for people's attraction to Ben Carson?
Well, I think that Ben Carson's the most likable person in the field. Almost no Republican doesn't like Ben Carson. And I do think during last night's debate, he put a lot of the biographical questions to rest, but he opened up a door to a whole bunch of other questions. And I think Dick's right with respect to policy acumen. He was meandering and confusing whether it was about Syria or banking regulations. And frankly, if he doesn't up his game on policy fluency, he may start to see a slide in the polls.
The Morris verdict last night was the major winners were Trump, Rubio, and Cruz. What about Trump in that equation? Is he hitting solid singles and staying out front?
Well, you got to understand something about Trump. I don't think he helped himself last night, but I don't think it particularly matters. Here's the thing with Trump. A lot of his supporters are committed, and I think that Trump made one ginormous error in last night's debate, and that was when he said, I want to keep wages low. Remember, part of his appeal is celebrity, but the other part is working class America. And if that's played back to enough of working class America, they might sour on Donald Trump. But I will say this, right now, his support's solid, and if you got 25%, you very well be the nominee if it stays this crowded.
Debate ratings are declining. Last night, 13.5 million, down from 24 million back in August. What do you think's behind that?
Well, I think that there was a fascination with Donald Trump from everyone. Trust me, the Democrats were tuned in the first debate as much as everyone else. I think what's going to happen here is after Thanksgiving, a lot more of Republican primary voters are going to tune in. And when they tune in, it's not necessarily the numbers, JD, as you know. It's about those who are casting ballots in Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina.
Ford O'Connell, as always, we appreciate your insights and analysis and off-the-record consultations, and not even charging us a fee. Very much appreciated, Ford, as you check in from Newsmax, Washington, sir. Now, we've been asking you who you think won last night's debate. Here are some up-to-date results. You're sticking with the Donald. Trump on top, 56%. Then comes Texas Senator Ted Cruz at 20%, followed by Florida Senator Marco Rubio at 10%, Dr. Ben Carson at 7%, Carly Fiorina, Rand Paul tied at 3%, and Jeb Bush and John Kasich at less than 1%. What do you think? Let us know. You can still vote in this. Go to newsmaxpolls.com, log on, and tell us who you think won last night's Republican presidential debate. Up next for Veterans Day, a remarkable young man named Travis Mills. Stay tuned.